Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of The Impractical Proudness of Parents. Ipop. Haven't done one of those for a while. First up today we have Entitled Mom Lets Her Toddler Get in the Hot Tub While Touring Apartment Building by Fries with McSauce. I was leaving my building, and when I got down to the lobby, I saw an old neighbor from the old crummy building I used to live in. I greeted her and asked her what she's up to. She said she wants to see an apartment, but there is nobody here at the front desk. I told her the front desk staff can't help them with that, and she would need to go to the leasing office during business hours, and it was 7 p.m. already. So too late for today. I told her I'm heading that way anyway, so I'll show you where it is for when you come back tomorrow, and I assumed we would exit the building together. The whole time we were walking across the complex from the high-rise to mid-rise where the leasing office is located, she was letting her 2-year-old daughter touch everybody's dogs without asking, and laughing about it, saying, "Nah, she just loves dogs." People were getting annoyed. We finally got to the exit, and I was trying to say bye, but she said, "You wouldn't mind showing us the pool, right? We're old neighbors, after all." How does she know that she wasn't the reason you left? I was like, sure, fine, I'm not in a rush. As we were waiting for the elevator, the kid opens the cabinet where the fire extinguisher was located and started taking the extinguisher out of it. EM didn't do anything about it until the thing almost fell on the floor. We finally got to the recreation area. I showed her the gym, barbecue grills, fire pits, and she kept making jokes about how, wait till we get to the pool. She's gonna want to go in. I just laughed it off. We finally got to the pool, and we were standing outside the glass gate of it. I wasn't planning on scanning my key fob to let her inside, because I just wanted to quickly show it to her and leave. There was a woman in the jacuzzi with her kid, and I guess she must have assumed I didn't have a key fob, so she got out and opened the gate and let us in. Bloody helpful people. Which was the last thing I wanted. As soon as she was let in, this child took her shirt off and jumped in the hot tub. Mind you, she can't swim. The woman in the hot tub was holding her and basically preventing her from drowning. I mean, she's got to learn to swim sometime, right? She wasn't wearing a swimsuit or anything. EM was laughing and saying, "Oh, that's okay, she just loves water," the entire time. I said, "Okay, well, let's get her out, and I'll show you the theater and co-working space." Instead of getting her out of the jacuzzi, she says to this poor woman, "You don't mind keeping an eye on her for a few minutes, do you?" I was mortified. The woman reluctantly agreed. I showed her as quick as I could so we could go back to the kid. When we got back, this poor woman was still holding this random child in the jacuzzi instead of relaxing. And I said, "All right, time to get her out because I really need to leave now." I was on my way out when we bumped into each other. EM says, "You don't mind if I just stay here for a little while, right? You can go, I'll see myself out." I was like, I guess so. And I laughed as this poor lady is babysitting a toddler in a hot tub while EM relaxed on a lounge chair with her phone. I'm so mortified and embarrassed. I knew her when she was pregnant with this little brat, and she was always so well-mannered. I never thought she would be such a shitty mom. What you need to do, if you haven't done it already, is call the leasing office, let them know who she is and that she might be applying for a place, and give her a reference. A voluntary, really, really bad one. Next up, Entitled Mom Poisons Petting Zoo Animals by Said Aioli, 3082. No, I love Aioli. I worked at my local petting zoo for about 3 years, and in that time I've seen my fair share of entitled parents. This particular story took place in autumn of last year. For context, a little layout of the farm. There is a large field the goats roam during clear weather, a big barn that includes stables for the goats, horses, and donkeys, 3 pens for our rabbits and guinea pigs, our office, kitchen, and supplies. People can walk around there and look at the animals when they're indoors. Next to the barn is a small cafe for parents to drink coffee while their children play. It was a cold and rainy day, so it was just me, 2 of my co-workers, and a mother with her son on the farm that day, not counting the workers in our small cafe. Me and my co-workers were outside in the field gathering leaves and putting them in a pile outside the gate, since the leaves are poisonous for our goats. Normally, one of us was inside the barn to keep an eye on our visitors, but since it was just the one mother and her son, we figured they wouldn't cause any trouble like bigger groups of people would usually do. After about an hour of us cleaning the field, we returned to the barn. As soon as we walked in, we noticed that the entire barn was covered in hay and straw. We kept the hay bales and straw bales inside the stable behind a red and white chain, with a sign in front that said, "Do not touch," in big letters. We were kind of annoyed, but it happened a lot, so we just walked toward the supply room to get a broom. Across from the supply room was our kitchen where we kept all the animals' food. The door has 2 huge stickers on it that say, "Keep out," and "No entry." I noticed the door was open while I clearly remembered closing it before heading into the field. I step into the kitchen to see multiple bags and containers out of place. I instantly remembered seeing the mother and her child feeding the goats from a small plastic cup earlier while I was working. I didn't think anything of it at the time because we have 2 gumball machines, for lack of a better word, filled with kibble for the goats. For 50 cents, people can get a small cup of kibble that is basically just compressed grass and feed it to the goats. When I realized they most likely didn't have the money for the machine and had just grabbed some from the kitchen, I kind of panicked. If the wrong animal gets the wrong food, they can get sick. But the thing that really made me freak out was the bag that was opened. It was a bag of small brown pellets that we used in the donkey's pen underneath the straw, because they had the habit of peeing right next to the fence, and the pebbles soaked up the pee and prevented it from leaking out of their pen. If these people had fed the moisture-absorbing pellets to an animal, they could get really sick, especially the horses. Our horses are very prone to colic. For people who don't know, colic is a problem in the stomach caused by gas or blockage and can be deadly for a horse. After I told my co-workers, and they panicked for a bit, we went to find the entitled mother, who at this point was drinking coffee while her son was playing on the ground. We brought the bag to her and asked her if she had fed the pellets to any animals. She denied doing it or even going into our kitchen, so we knew she was lying. We walked back to our office and decided to check the security camera, and lo and behold, the camera showed the mother and her son feeding very familiar-looking brown pellets to one of the horses. After we confronted her about it, she told us, "Well, yeah, I grabbed some from your kitchen because the machines are just way too expensive," so she chose to steal, "and my son deserves to feed the animals." We kindly asked her to leave. With a 2x4, I'm assuming? You can be kind with a 2x4. Just hurry things along. A couple of hours later, the horse she had fed started showing signs of colic, rolling on the ground and touching his nose to his belly. We immediately called a vet and told him the whole story. The horse is fine now, but we still had to pay an expensive vet bill so that mother could save 50 cents. Oh, I wish you had the contact information so you could bill them. Please never feed an animal that is not your own, and especially don't feed them something without reading the package of the product. Third story today is entitled "Uncle Breaks Almost Every Park Rule in Search for a Charger, Then Gets Mad That We Don't Have Any Outlets in an Empty Field," by Reddit Boy 123451. A little bit of context before I start the story. My first job back when I was a freshman was a program attendant at one of those city fairs. For this job, I was situated in a small little park-like field, which consisted of several tents, each with an activity for the kids to do with their families. Anyway, on the day that the incident that this story is about happened, I was situated at a tent where you could design little toys like a pinwheel, folding fans, paper masks, and things like that. All was going well when suddenly an uncle and his 3 nieces came in and started coloring a tote bag. That was fine until the uncle asked me if there were any chargers, to which I told him that there were not any that I knew of in my area, but if he wanted he could go to the guest services building where they have all kinds of chargers, Apple, Android, USB, etc. Sadly, he said it was too far, considering his nieces were not done with the activity yet, so he asked if we at least had an outlet. The thing was, since the activity was in a vast open park, there were no outlets, so I suggested he could check in the building where the washrooms are. He did, and nothing. So he was starting to get desperate, so I finally gave him the option to go ask the folks in the sound tent. Since they have all the equipment for performers, chances are they have an outlet of some sort. After this, he told his niece that he would be right back, and away he went. Might want to call CPS? The problem was, on the way he tried to unplug one of the speakers that the performers use. Saw that coming. Luckily, I was able to stop him. Once he was gone, I continued walking through the activity with the nieces as the sound tent was within view, so I was not too worried. After a little while, they were done with the activity, but the uncle has not come back. Now I was a little worried, but the oldest niece said she would go get him, and off she went as I moved on to the next family. As I was going through with the second family, I suddenly saw the niece come back, but when I looked up, she was not with her uncle. She was with one of the supervisors. I asked what happened, and she said that the niece came up to her and sadly asked where her uncle was. Now I was concerned. The number one rule at the youth zone is kids must be supervised at all times, and this guy just ran off. I asked if the niece had any way to contact him, which she said that she did not have his phone number, and she could call her dad, who could call her uncle. Excellent, drop him in it. I like that. At first we were relieved, but then I pointed out an issue. If he was looking for a charger when he left, chances are his phone was dead by now. Not as dead as he's going to be when the father gets his hands on him. So all we could really do was try to find him. The good news was we found him after about an hour, and you'll never believe where he was. On the stage where all the kiddie performers are, magicians, costume characters, children's bands, etc., and trying to unplug one of their speakers, just like he tried to do at the small stage earlier. Now, this is where we get to rule number 2. And that is that there are only 3 people allowed on the main stage. 1 performers, 2 staff, 3 audience members when invited by performers. And when there are no performances, nobody is allowed on the stage whatsoever. So, the supervisor went to talk to him, and I could not hear the conversation, but I could tell she was furious, considering she was doing all these hand motions. And when the uncle got back, he was very sheepish and very quickly told his nieces it was time to leave. Now, this might seem more like a dumb caregiver story rather than an entitled one. Oh, I don't know, he sounds pretty entitled to me. But this is the part where the entitlement comes in. After my shift, the supervisor gave her part of the story. She said that during the conversation, he said that they did not have enough outlets, to which she was dumbfounded and said, "Where can we put them? It's an empty field." Then got mad as the speakers are like $1,000 equipment, and he was not only going to an off-limits area, but messing with the equipment. So this guy broke 3 fair rules just because he didn't plan ahead, then put the blame on us when we didn't even design the area. Story number 4 today is Crazy, Probably, Single Mother at My Shop by DigiJade. So for some background. Hi. I work at a small mom-and-pop reptile shop. I'm 20 and trans-mask and autistic. Despite having been hired to only take care of the reptiles, because I love reptiles more than I like people, my manager and boss trust me to open and run the shop by myself. I don't have a problem with this. I'm just setting the scene. So a month or 2 ago, I was asked to open the shop. I, of course, went to open, and when I got there, I saw a woman standing outside with 2 young boys, probably around like 6 to 8. No clue how long she was standing there, since I got there just before opening time. As I'm getting out of my car and getting out my key to open the shop, one of the young boys looks at me and says, "Is that Daddy? Who's that?" I just stay silent, because I have no idea how to respond to that. Despite being trans-mask, at that time I was only maybe on my first week of testosterone. So I didn't, and still don't, look like a guy, much less a dad. If anything, most people tease me for looking like I should be in middle school. Anyways, the woman looks at me and says, "Ignore him, he's autistic." To which I respond, "Oh, no worries, I'm on the spectrum as well, I understand." I open the shop, and this kid is still thinking I'm his dad or something, while also at the same time asking to his mom who I am, and at the same time addressing me with female pronouns, which normally I'd be quick to correct, but I felt now was not the time. The woman was telling the boy to stop, and I'm not great with social cues, but if she kept telling him to stop, that tells me I have no obligation to answer him. So I get them a mouse for their snake as requested, all goes well. When I go to ring him up, the kid starts with his barrage of the same questions again. I'm uncomfortable because I don't know if I should answer or not due to the woman telling him to be quiet, and because, generally, I just do not like small children. But after a while of him continuing to refer to me with female pronouns, I speak up awkwardly and say, well, first, I'm a boy. And before I could tell the kid my name to get him to be quiet, she suddenly barks at me, "He doesn't know any of that gender stuff, just tell him your name." I'm taken aback by this, but I do that, tell the kid my name, then says, "He's not daddy," and seems to be content. She then takes her kids and storms out while another customer comes in. He asks what happened, since apparently she looked mad. Hard for me to tell, can't read people that well. Plus, she kinda has a resting bitch face. So, I gave him the spark notes of what happened, to which he found ridiculous and quite hilarious. I went to get him a rodent as requested too, very popularly today. While I head upstairs, picking out a good-sized rat, I hear him talking to someone with a female voice. I then hear the words, "Mama Bear." And in the back of my mind I'm thinking, that better not be a Karen. And surprise, surprise, soon as I come down the stairs, I see her bleached blonde hair standing by the rack of UV and heat bulbs, glaring up at me. I don't even get a chance to give this man his rat before she tells me she wants to talk to me for a moment. She then tells me how I disrespected her and her son, how he's sitting in the car crying. Good, quite frankly. He was completely happy and content when they left, wouldn't be surprised if he was crying because of her yelling. She then once again rattled on about how he doesn't understand gender stuff because you're not teaching him, you moron, and that she wants to report me to my manager. And as she storms off, I say back to her, "Ma'am, I didn't do anything to disrespect you or your son. I would also like to once again bring up that I am autistic as well, and I don't understand people much, but I do try my best." She doesn't even react to that as she storms off. I was hoping she'd understand and sympathize since she has an autistic kid of her own, unless she's one of those people who assume that since I'm higher functioning than her son that I'm not actually autistic. But I end up going about the rest of my day normally, and relay the story to some friends, to which they all agree she was completely delusional, and thought that was the end of it. Until she comes back yesterday. I wasn't alone this time. Had a co-worker, Damien, with me sitting at the register. I was cleaning a ball python's tank when she came in and stopped in her tracks when she saw me. I looked up at her, thinking she looked familiar, and was about to go into my whole customer service, "Hi, can I help you with anything?" But, similar to before, she speaks up before I can say anything with, "I'm here to get a mouse. I also want your manager's phone number." "Remember me? Yeah, I want to report you." I'm sitting there flabbergasted like, my day just started, lady. I tried to tell her that I don't think I can give her my manager's personal number, because you can't, before she cuts me off and storms over to Damien. I go back to taking care of the snakes while listening in. I can't hear all of it, but I overhear bits and pieces, like how I went off on her son. Oh, she's one of those. All I did was tell him I was a boy. And how she wants the security feed from that day with audio. I doubt she remembers what the exact day was. I don't. Also, the security cameras, I'm pretty sure automatically delete everything after a week. And my boss would probably rather do anything than search through a security feed, which would only confirm that you didn't go off on anyone. I'm kinda pissed about this woman, but I don't see anything until Damien passes by, to which I whisper to him, "She's a Karen, I'll explain when she leaves." to which he gives me a knowing look and nods. She doesn't try to talk to me or anything, thankfully, and once she left I explained the story to Damien. We both had a good laugh about that. Unfortunately, she seems to be somewhat of a regular, though I've only seen her those 2 times, but that means this is not the end. I will update if she comes back. Also, I haven't told my manager about this yet because she's not usually in while I'm in, and she isn't the best with looking at her text messages. I'm gonna go in tomorrow and catch her up on all the lore, cause I know she'd be on my side. Knowing her, she'll probably find it hilarious. Update. Apparently my manager did end up speaking with this woman. According to her, the woman got offended because I said I was autistic. Like she wasn't expecting it, so she couldn't fathom the fact that someone other than her son could be autistic. Because he's the most special little boy in the world. I only said it as a way to sympathize. To be like, oh, no worries, I get it. But she instead found it an insult in her strange, twisted mind. Oh, that kid is in for a very unfortunate ride. Anyways, my manager told her not to come in on Tuesdays since that's the day I run the shop. Manager should be telling her not to come in at all. Fifth and final story today is entitled Mother Called Me Predator and Threw Hot Coffee at Me for Playing Roblox by Flying Scotsman 60103. I'm not a fan of Roblox, but that seems a bit excessive. Let's see what happened. So this happened a week back, and I'm still boiling over that people can be this annoying. First of all, I'm a 21-year-old guy. I had a big chunk of free time in my schedule. Also, I had senioritis started kicking in. It was hot, so I decided to get some sweet iced coffee and sat down at a booth and started to play some Roblox. Judge all you want, but I started playing Roblox in 2016 and have liked the game ever since. Wish I could say I like what the company is doing now. Anyways, I was playing this addicting game called My Hello Kitty Cafe. It's basically a restaurant tycoon game, and I got into it with some friends way back. Anyways, I noticed this little girl and her EM waiting in line. She was ordering a cake pop. She was peeking at the computer every now and then, and she walked over. This is the convo. Hi, what game is that? I'm being friendly. Oh, it's a game on Roblox, where you build a restaurant, hire staff, decorate, and earn cash. Can I try? No. I let her try, and then watched as we did an order together. EM walked to us with her coffee and cake pop. What are you doing? I'm showing her a game on Roblox. You can't play that game. Why not? Roblox is a kid's game. Why are you playing a kid's game? I'm dumbfounded. Because I grew up with this game as a teen? Well, don't you see what's happening on the news? I wouldn't be surprised if you're a predator playing a kid's game meant only for kids. You have other games you can play, but you only choose to play Roblox. Seems really weird, doesn't it? She had a passive-aggressive smile on her face. You're crazy and insane for thinking that. Can I have my laptop back? I say to the kid. Don't talk to my daughter, you freak! She threw her hot coffee on my shirt, assault, and then ran out of the coffee shop with her daughter. The head barista came up to me with napkins asking if I was all right and if I needed to call the cops, which you should have done. I'm sure they'll know her. I told her it's fine, and said the EM is banned from the coffee shop. All I'm going to say is that some mothers are so infuriating. Isn't that just the truth? And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so by signing up for my Patreon page, linked in the description. $1 a month gets you early access to all the videos on Monday. There's also a link to my merchandise store on Teespring, as well as my threads and my Discord server if you'd like to join. If you need to contact me for any reason, that's kingofthecities@gmail.com, also in the description. If you need to send me a story, you have any business inquiries, or you just want a shout out for a birthday or something, you can do all that there. Until next time, thank you very much for watching, and take very good care of yourselves. Bye bye.